Hello, Brian here. Over the weekend, my family and I went up to Monterey Bay and we took our son to the aquarium. He had a really good time. Then afterwards, we drove a little bit north and stayed in Sunnyvale and visited family. It was a really good weekend up until getting home. I may have overextended myself, got myself a bug. So the next couple of days will be next couple of episodes will be about being under the weather and some of the home remedies for being under the weather, like chicken noodle soup. And we have some ingredients in the garden that we can forage and harvest for our chicken noodle soup, so we'll be looking at that today. And then we'll also be checking out what's going on with the planter. Okay, let's start off with this planter. These are little bok choy succession plantings. They're ready to be thinned out, at least some of them are. So we can start thinning them out a little bit. Here along the next two rows are some Chinese kale stumps. They were harvested for our taro rice, and we leave the stalks in place because they may grow back into new plants. And here's an example of a Chinese kale that grew back. And then on the next row over, we have French breakfast radishes. They're starting to have color at the bottom now. I'm not sure. So they should be ready to be harvested soon. This is the first time I'm planting them, so I'm not entirely sure when to harvest them. And then with these planters, I've noticed that I have a new issue with them over containers, and that's either a skunk or possum coming to dig at them at nighttime. I'm pretty sure it's not a cat, although we have a lot of feral cats that run around. What I've noticed recently is that if I disturb the soil, they'll come and dig around it. So I'm keeping an eye out on that. It seems like disturbing the soil attracts them, because just yesterday I was just moving this over to kind of cover the bottom of the bok choy stalks, and then last night we had some digging around here, and I'm looking at the other planter and there's not digging over there. So something to observe. One of the tenets of permaculture: observe and see how we can understand their behavior and work around it. These are two rows of more Chinese kale. These are succession plantings. There's a row of bok choy here that was disturbed. You can see one plant there. These are the cauliflower. We have two plants here, and they've gotten a lot bigger. They're part of the brassica family, and that's a pretty wide group of vegetables, and they look very, very similar. So here's a cauliflower, and then over here in the same family, the Chinese kale looks very, very similar. So you can really confuse it and harvest it by accident. Okay, we're moving down this way. We have some flat leaf parsley. We'll pick some of this for our chicken noodle soup. And down there is the onions. We won't go into detail about them. We got a series on the onions going on, so we'll talk about them more in that series. Here are some watermelon radishes. They didn't. Only two plants kind of popped up. I've re-sowed it and hoping that we get more. The spinach that we sowed last time, they haven't popped up. I don't know if it's a seed issue or if it's just still too hot. These are our black Spanish radishes, and it's not doing too well. I think it's too warm. At least this guy, you can tell he's not too happy. That's not a very nice looking radish. Hopefully these other ones will look better. And then we have our, let's see, I always forget the name. I think it's ping tung. I always pronounce it as ping ting. This is a ping tung long eggplant. I think it's ready to harvest. So it'll be our first ever Asian eggplant. And then over here we have our carrots. These are our red core Chantenay heirloom carrots, and they're starting to grow in. We could thin them out again, so maybe we'll get a little bit of carrot to put in our soup. And then right behind our row of let's see, which ones are these? Touchon French heirloom carrots. So we have a row of these all the way to there, and we'll let them grow before we thin them out. We had stuff come and dig right after sowing, and some of these plants may have been moved around or just buried too deep by our critter. But we do have some sprouts. Like this is a Chinese mustard, or gai choy, so we have that. Some of our snap peas are coming out. And let's see here. This is I use my shadow here to help with the lighting. This is a row of Napa cabbage. So I've noticed they grow pretty much out of the ground, so I think you're supposed to hill them or something. Make sure the stalk's nice and covered. So we have a really good spacing as far as them deciding to sprout and surviving adversity. So we have one that's here and one that's right in the middle of the planter, and then there's a cluster that are back there. So we are getting lucky so far. This is a row of Freckles romaine lettuce. We have some here. Probably thin that one out. And over here are supposed to be some Crimson Force onions. They haven't come out yet. And I think that's pretty much it with what's going on in this planter. We'll head to the back to where the Untitled celery is, and talk about the celery a little bit. Oh, before we get there, our Cherokee purple got snacked on by a bird. First of all, sorry about the harsh lighting here. I wish I could shoot it at a better time for you. This is a Untitled celery, and next to it is a volunteer Japanese cucumber. We'll see what happens as far as whether it will make a cucumber before it gets cold or not. With celery, when it's grown commercially, what they do is they hill it with sand and cover the stalk so that sun cannot hit it. And when you go to the supermarket, you may notice that the celery stalk is a little bit discolored or white on the bottom. Now, I think that's because celery has a very, very strong taste. So when the sun hits it, it makes chlorophyll, and you get the green parts. And it may be too strong for people to use in their cooking. So I think what they do, by doing that and making it, by pretty much blanching the stalks by covering it in sand, by mounting in sand, they're taking away some of that strong flavor. So yeah, I normally just grow them without doing anything to them. So today we'll try growing them in a commercial way. And these stalks down here, I'm gonna harvest and put in our chicken noodle soup. But we'll need the string to tie this together. And once we tie it together, we'll take some mulch, since we're not gonna use sand, and just basically mount it up and cover the stalk. We have our Utah tall celery and some Italian flat leaf parsley, but not very much in the way of carrots, if anything at all. There's some supermarket carrots in the fridge, and we'll use that. And I'm gonna head in and make soup and hopefully make myself feel better. Thanks for joining me out here, and we'll see you in the next video. We'll start by boiling some carrot in some homemade chicken stock. We'll use a sieve to get all the particles out of the homemade chicken stock. In goes our Utah tall celery. How can we forget our fresh thyme from the garden? Absolute must in chicken noodle soup. I love thyme, so I'm going to put a lot. Flat leaf parsley. Our thinned out carrots in here for added psychological healing. Salt. And we'll pepper after putting in the bowl, because my son does not like spicy stuff yet. He's going to want to have some of this soup as well. If you grow elephant garlic, you're going to be like me, and you'll have to find things to use them in, because you get so much garlic at the end of the season. And in soup, in large slivers like this, is one way that they can be enjoyed. Since their flavor is very mild, they can be sliced in large slivers like that. Some home oven roasted chicken, cubed. So what's the verdict, folks? Do you like your chicken noodle with cubed chicken or shredded chicken? Some egg noodle. It may not seem like a lot, but it will puff up. Oven roasted chicken noodle soup. Always a very tasty and simple dish to make, especially when under the weather. Made with ingredients from the garden. Utah tall celery, flat leaf Italian parsley, thyme, elephant garlic, and a few carrot thinnings.